You want to get something to write with and something to write on, because we're going to work through a problem together that's very similar to the problems you're going to be working on in your thought primer. So this is an excellent opportunity for you to do a bit of a check-in with yourself to see how ready you are to take on your homework. So we have an argument. It reads as follows. Many people who do not regret their crimes are people convicted of murder. So a few convicted murderers are people incapable of being reformed, since every person capable of being reformed is a person who regrets his or her crimes. Okay, obviously this argument is nowhere near standard form, so we're going to have to work through our process step by step really carefully to translate this argument into standard form and then work through our process for determining whether this argument is valid or invalid. Now the steps we're going to use to work through this argument are the same steps I want you using as you work on your homework problems. The first step is this. We're going to identify the premises and the conclusion of this argument, paying really careful attention to any indicator words, any conclusion indicators or premise indicator words that will help us accomplish this very important first step. Once we know what the conclusion and premises are, we're going to identify the terms of this argument. We're going to look for the minor, major, and middle term. And we're going to pay really careful attention to the wording of the terms as we're looking through the argument to see if we can identify any synonyms, any terms that are worded very similarly but not identically to one another, or any terms that kind of mean the same thing. That's going to help us begin the process of reducing the number of terms by looking for synonyms. Once we've got all our terms identified and assigned letters, we're going to reduce the number of terms down to 3. And once we've got our major, minor, and middle term, we're going to represent the argument symbolically. So we're going to take each statement of the argument, our two premises and our conclusion. We're going to express them as standard form categorical statements using the letters that we've assigned to represent the terms of the argument. Then we're going to reduce down the number of terms of this argument using the operations of conversion, reversion, and contraposition to eliminate term complements that may appear in our symbolized argument. And then we're going to arrange the argument in standard form, making sure that the major term, the predicate of the conclusion, appears in the first premise, the minor term, the subject of the conclusion, appears in the second premise, and then we're going to be able to determine its form. And once we have the argument's form, its mood, and its figure, we can cross-reference that with our inventories of valid forms to see if this argument is valid or invalid. Then we can double-check our work in one of two ways. You get to pick. You can either apply the 5 rules for categorical syllogisms, or you can create a Venn diagram for this argument. But we're going to check our work to make sure that our judgment of this argument's validity or invalidity is reliable. Okay, so in the next lecture, we're going to go through the solution to this problem. So what you want to do is you want to work on this. Once you have all of these steps completed, then move on to the next lecture and we'll check your work.